23-year-old Lisa Techel was a newlywed and 17 weeks pregnant with her first child when she was shot to death while asleep in bed on May 26, 2012, in her rural Iowa home. Her 21-year-old husband of only 7 months, Seth Techel, accused a mentally ill neighbor of breaking into their home and shooting her as revenge for an ongoing property dispute. What followed was an investigation full of twists, turns, and 3 trials before Lisa's killer was brought to justice. Lisa Caldwell and Seth Techel had been a couple for 7 years when they married in October 2011. They'd settled into a trailer on a piece of land outside Agency, Iowa in Wapello County, and were expecting their first child, a daughter they named Zoe Maria. The two had burgeoning law enforcement careers. Lisa was a jailer in neighboring Washington County, while Seth, a volunteer firefighter, was set to begin working as a jailer in Wapello County, the same department where Lisa's father, Todd Caldwell, already worked as a sheriff's deputy, and Lisa was a volunteer reserve deputy. The day of Lisa's death, Seth told Iowa Division of Criminal Investigations, DCI special agents he awoke at 5 a.m. He got in the shower and heard what he thought was a gunshot around 5:05 a.m. When he got back out of the shower, he saw the outside door open and found Lisa in the bedroom unresponsive with a gunshot wound to her upper left side. He called 911 at 5:23 a.m. But when paramedics arrived, they were unable to save Lisa and pronounced her dead. DCI and sheriff's deputies at the scene found no signs of forced entry or a struggle. Seth provided DCI agents with a list of 5 guns he kept in the house, 2 handguns and 3 rifles, and all were accounted for. Seth also claimed he and Lisa were happily married with no significant issues. When asked who he thought might have killed Lisa, Techel immediately said, "Tate, my crazy-ass neighbor, because of the things he's been saying and doing to us. I honestly think the guy's off his rocker crazy." Brian Tate was a 57-year-old Vietnam veteran and avid gun owner with a history of PTSD and schizophrenia, who lived with his mother and brother on the property next door to the Techels. Weeks before Lisa's death, Tate and Seth Techel had gotten into a dispute over some garbage and a deer hide thrown onto Tate's property, among other incidents. Tate had complained to responding local law enforcement about it several times, including to Lisa's father. Wapello County Sheriff Don Phillips interviewed Tate the day of the shooting and described him to AE True Crime as cooperative and providing a solid alibi. Tate claimed to be home asleep in bed at the time of the shooting, which was corroborated by both Tate's mother, who was awake at 5 a.m., and Tate's brother. When asked if he had anything to do with Lisa's murder, Tate said no. After we interviewed Tate, we were 100% confident it wasn't him, Phillips says. Less than 12 hours after Lisa's death, investigators spoke with a friend of Seth's, who revealed Seth had been having an affair with a co-worker named Rachel McFarland. When confronted about McFarland, Seth's story started to change and unravel, until he finally admitted he'd been involved with McFarland and told her he was leaving Lisa, but claimed it was a lie. He then abruptly ended the interview. At the same time, a secret cell phone was discovered in Seth's vehicle with sexually explicit text messages and photos between Seth and McFarland. At one point in their communications, McFarland gave Seth an ultimatum to end his marriage, to which he responded, "Just give me 2 weeks." Phillips describes the messages as like a countdown to Lisa's death. Another friend and former roommate of Seth's told investigators he'd left behind a Mossberg 500 shotgun in the couple's trailer when he moved out months earlier, but the gun wasn't on the list Seth provided to law enforcement and couldn't be accounted for. The following day, investigators returned to the crime scene and searched more of the property around the trailer, where they quickly discovered a Mossberg 500 in the tall grass north of the trailer, and notably in the opposite direction of Tate's house. When Lisa's autopsy results returned, it revealed she'd been killed with a shotgun, and the bullet fragments were consistent with a Mossberg, while none of Tate's firearms were a match. Seth Techel was arrested outside his wife's wake and charged with first-degree murder and non-consensual termination of a human pregnancy.